the vitamins that we have been both. You've found that I had a deficiency in that I didn't know, specifically vitamin D. There was a couple of others. And my experience, which was, well, you're low in vitamin D, you need to take some vitamin D. And you gave me a very easy form of it. Maybe you can explain to, first of all, folks, what my kind of levels were and what type you gave me.
Okay. So your levels were actually lower than the cutoff, which, so for the most part, if your level's like at 30 or above, they consider it adequate. But I don't think vitamin D levels are adequate at 30. I think we need to get it a little higher than that. But you were actually below the cutoff. So you definitely needed supplementation. So I decided to do a D3 with K2 and just an oral pill that you take every day.
So the vitamin D3 that you gave me is the tiniest little thing. It was the easiest one of the few that you gave me. We'll get into a couple of the other ones maybe at the end. But you were very clear, listen, your vitamin D isn't just low, meaning low normal. It's actually low underneath the cutoff, which is really interesting because in some of our other podcasts we talk about, well, sometimes we want to treat with low normal because we don't want to wait till we're after a cutoff because usually that signifies things that could be in your future that are problematic, right? So this whole idea of like a broad-based population's normal needs to be adjusted where there's kind of like what we want you to have. This is considered maybe acceptable, maybe a deviation. But then there's this like number that like really signals treatment.
Yeah, optimal. We want to get you to those optimal levels.
So for those of you that don't know, maybe that are listening and not watching, I'm 6'5", I'm 235 pounds, and that's like being generous to myself a little bit. So I'm a big guy. I like to eat.
And you're out in the sun.
And I'm out in the sun a lot. If you're watching black and white, I'm dark, for a Caucasian, I guess. But in the end, I like to be in the sun. And so this idea of like not enough sun, not enough food was not correct. My vitamin D levels, by the way, had been checked in the past, never to have a problem. In the past. Never did I have a problem in the past. Now all of a sudden I have a problem. And you and I basically think I just turned 60 and it's possible that we also found a little bit of a microbiome. So my gut bacteria was a little bit different. And maybe that was related to age or maybe an antibiotic that I had to take during a dental procedure or something like that. But I was not absorbing in the food that I was eating, which is extensive, enough vitamin D.
Yeah. So we replace it.
Well, it's easier said than done. So yes, I started to replace it. So then comes the question, and many listeners are like, okay, great. You replace it like how long? Is that for life?
Well, that's why we check. So we make sure that you're getting to that proper level, and then we can start to ease off a little bit and just kind of keep monitoring the level to make sure that you stay where you're supposed to. And some people do have to take vitamin D for long periods of time. They just don't absorb it well from either the foods they're eating or just they're not making it when they go out in the sun.
Well, I felt different after a period. I did take the probiotics that you gave me, which is a specific type based on the biotics or the bacteria that were in my gut that were not there, not enough of.
Yeah.
So you suggested I take those. I did. My feeling is we haven't retested me, and we will, and we'll go through that on the podcast. But just like, again, two doctors at a doctor's lounge. First of all, thank you for, checking the microbiome so that I knew that the bacteria in my gut, which control the amount of nutrition that I get into my system to some degree. And we've changed that. I believe that's going to change my vitamin D levels. Certainly the supplementation kind of ramped me up.
Yeah.
And then you also got me on a multivitamin, which there's been recent studies that have been pretty clear that they extend longevity. And you gave me a proper multivitamin. So it's almost like, you filled up the tank and then the supplementation is a multivitamin, particularly after an age where your absorption might be a little bit less. It happened to also be intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
On a 16 hours, in an 8-hour eating window. So it is very possible that now all I need is the multivitamin, correct?
Because it's very hard to kind of see what your diet, you have to eat a pretty varied diet to get all the like little nutrients and everything. So sometimes supplementation is just easier, especially if you're not eating that much.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard people like say, "Well, you have to have all the colors in the rainbow
Exactly.
when you're eating," and that's hard to do.
Yeah.
You're at, you're at a nice, you can't order by colors.
No.
Turns out that would be that's an interesting. There's a business.
Oh,
in
there is.
Like, you cut all your colors. So I guess what I'm trying to say to people and to say to you as the doctor in the doctor's lounge, awesome. I took my supplements for a period of time. I did not take them religiously. Sometimes you forgot them because, it's not something you take and you're like, oh, got it. It's like, I know when I missed my coffee, right?
But then that's what for me, that's what it feels like when I do take, like when I miss my supplements. I do feel that, I missed something today.
So I can tell you that I didn't know day to day, but I did know. Over a period of time. And if I had to guess, I think it was the microbiome that allowed me to absorb things better. But the vitamin D, when I took it in a pill, did feel better. But now I feel like I probably don't need it. And then the multivitamin might be for the subtle things that have been shown, again, in evidence-based, because this is a doctor's lounge and we're evidence-based.
Yes.
So there was evidence that a multivitamin, but
Yes.
you kind of have to get everything tuned up before you can. Because if you just take a multivitamin, you've got a real deficiency, say, in a vitamin D, it's probably not enough.
It's not enough.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah. You definitely wouldn't have enough in just a multivitamin to raise those vitamin D levels again.
Interesting. So that's, wanted to start off with kind of some of the things that I was doing just to make it relatable to people. So my vitamin D was low. My
Folate was low. B12 was low. So yeah, homocysteine was high. So trying to balance those back out again.
Talk to me about B12. Why do you think my B12 might have been low?
Well, again, are you really able to get it from your food? Yeah. Are you absorbing it properly? And then there's a difference between the different types of B12, like which ones the body absorbs better. So giving it to you in this form, I know that you're absorbing it.
We've also known countless patients through the years are like, I want my B12 shot. And I feel much better after my B12 shot, right?
Yeah.
That's been a phenomenon. Whether it's placebo or not, it's never been fully worked out unless you have a real B12 deficiency, which can happen in certain disease states. But for the large part, like my whole career, there's people coming in for, asking specifically for B12 shots. And that's why I was shocked to see that my B12 was low in a guy that eats well and, does eat a Mediterranean-style diet and decent amount of vegetables. And but, sometimes those vegetables aren't always organic. How do you don't always know if your cucumber was, so it's it is one of those things regarding the B vitamins, particularly, but B12 maybe most, that has really, invaded our culture to be like, I need a shot and it'll be better.
Yeah.
But not, I need a shot every day or week and I'll be better. I need it periodically. So maybe it is this rhythm within our microbiome that when you're kind of regular and everything's really feeling good, you're absorbing better. And as you age and you're maybe a little less regular.
Yeah. Well, they know that the diversity of your microbiome kind of decreases with age. So could that be part of it?
Yeah, I would think it. For me, it was because I didn't change anything. I just got an extra candle on my birthday, and I was like, I feel something's different.
Yeah.
So, well, that's super, super interesting. So homocysteine, so go ahead. My folic acid level was low. B12 was low. So therefore you ordered me
those extra supplements. So besides what's in the multivitamin, you got an extra dose, let's say, of the B12 and folate to get your levels up. And then at some point we'll stop that.
Right.
And just continue on the multivitamin.
I got to be honest, I kind of have already kind of stopped it. And
Okay.
I've been really good about the multivitamin. It's a big, it's a pill. And the other ones are like, how many of these little pills are you going to take?
Yeah.
That don't make me feel any different. but the cumulative amount does. So you're like, well, which one is it? Like, for instance, magnesium. You gave me magnesium because I hadn't been sleeping well around the time where I thought maybe my microbiome was off. So you gave me magnesium.
Well, because your magnesium was also on the lower side. It wasn't at that optimal level.
Right.
And you're very active.
Yeah. So I did feel like maybe I felt a little bit better while I was sleeping. I felt maybe a little less overall. I felt like almost my muscles felt a little smoother. But in the end, I took a significant, I think it was 240 milligrams. But I didn't feel like I needed to take it every day. So I kind of stopped taking it. It's almost like a potassium pill. Like I mean, it is a sort
Still,
of. So I felt like I kind of upped it, and then whatever I'm getting in the multivitamins was probably fine. So like I went from a stack of having like, I don't know, 8 supplements or pills. Some of them had 2 of them in there. So maybe 6 supplements with a couple of 2 versus
just taking
a multivitamin, and
I
feel good, and my microbiome got, like, for instance, the probiotics. How long do you typically prescribe probiotics?
Well, it depends, because so when we retest you, then we can see what changed, and then maybe it altered into a different way so that we need different probiotics, because you're not eating a lot of probiotic foods.
Right.
But if you were telling me that you're like eating kimchi every day and I'm eating, sauerkraut and yogurt and
I did add Greek yogurt almost
okay.
every other day now.
Okay. All right.
But not kimchi,
but it's not
not sauerkraut. Yeah.
There's like a little bit of fermented foods, but not a lot.
The data on Greek yogurt is so inescapable that I've tried to add that as much as possible. Actually, my mother gave me a great recipe once where you take one of those like leek soups, like powdered leek soup that you would add to water, and you put that in the yogurt, into the Greek yogurt.
It tastes.
The taste is amazing. It's like a dip, but you can like eat it with a spoon or with some
cucumbers or
so good. Could eat that a lot. My wife recently has started adding Greek yogurt to like our snacks with some overnight oats.
Oh yeah,
kind of an interesting. So there's these like ways of getting the Greek yogurts now. Like the kimchi and the sauerkraut, little harder to get correct. Oh my God! When I was in Germany last year, the sauerkraut in Germany is so good.
So different,
so
right?
Good, so good. All right. So those are my particular scenarios when it came to multivitamins, and I thank you, and I feel terrific. And sleep is really back to normal, and I feel pretty blessed that way. So thanks. What I want to save for next podcast is probably a supplement that borders on a vitamin, but it's creatine.
Yeah.
And it's getting so much great interest both from men and women and for so many different things that maybe next week we'll do a full creatine thing. So those of us that are, those are the people that are listening, get everybody to listen to next, because we're going to do a really good job on creatine next week, because there's so much new, great information and a lot of old information that's useful. So it seems to
not
be
just for bodybuilders anymore.
No, it's not. It seems to be for,
everybody.
I've heard of, energy and memory, and the list goes on, and the data is starting to accumulate, and then it gets down to dosing and everything else. So we'll talk about creatine.
Okay.
So if people have the ability to, make some comments, I want to see if everyone wants to know, maybe even specific questions about what people might want us to cover regarding creatine at the doctor's lounge.
Yes.